In the Huddle was created to give student athletes, parents and coaches an inside look at the journey through US college sport and all that comes with it. The demands, the experiences, the excitement and the opportunities available to our student athletes from around the world. Study and Play USA facilitates a comprehensive, customised approach for student athletes and families for their whole journey, from their high school preparation years right through to US college graduation. Welcome to this episode of In the Huddle. Today we've got a few of us here on our team to discuss the different divisions of competition in the US. We've got Ellen with us and Alexia and myself, Chris. Look, with 1,500 universities that offer collegiate sports, they've got to be divided into separate competitions, and then that's why we have this need for these divisions. But there's not a lot of information out there about divisions unless you dig really deep or unless you're going through the process yourself. So before we talk about each of the divisions of competition in the US, we'd like to just start by busting a few myths. So first and foremost, when we hear the word division, it implies that there's a bit of a vertical hierarchy. So Division 1 might automatically be better than Division 2, which is better than Division 3. This is not the case necessarily. We'd like most people to look at it more of a horizontal hierarchy. Each division is separate to others and have different characteristics. So look, another little myth, and people just may not know this, that every university athletics department will choose which division best suits their university to compete in. So it's not a matter of performance based where you get allocated into a certain division. It is more about a choice that best suits that university because each division does have different characteristics. Each of these divisions are governed by different rules surrounding scholarship, recruiting, how many sports they're permitted to offer as a minimum, and the level of intensity of competition. And there's a few other factors as well. So it's not based on the standard of academics, as some people may think, and it's not simply based on the standard of athletics either. Quite complex. So I'm going to introduce Alexia just to talk a little bit about the most recognised entity that some people in this college space have heard of, called the NCAA.
Thanks, Chris. Well, the NCAA, it stands for the National Collegiate Athletics Association, and it is a $60 billion entity. That's right, billion. So it is a huge organization, bigger than FIFA, and within it has 3 divisions. And the role of the NCAA itself is to primarily maintain the amateurism of the sport. So what they want to ensure is that someone hasn't, if there's a golfer, they haven't been out on the tour for 18 months after high school and then come back, start first year as a freshman. So they want to make sure that everyone's entering across the world on the most level playing field. The scholarship, they allocate scholarship across 25 different sports each year. And they also have, as well as the amateurism of the sport, they have their own set of academic requirements for each athlete who wishes to participate. And this is really to make sure that they're not setting the student athlete up for failure, that there's minimum requirements that they need to make across, GPA, SAT requirements, and each division has different levels of this.
That's exactly right. So look, as Alexia said, there's 3 divisions. I'm going to talk about Division 1. That was my experience as a student athlete many, many years ago now. I went to Oklahoma State University in the middle of America. And played my tennis there. So I know quite a little bit about what it's like to be a student athlete in Division 1, but I've learned more about Division 1 perhaps in this role since finishing college. But there is an assumption out there that it is the best division, again, because of it being Division 1. And in many cases, in certain sports at the very top end, it is the best, and it does attract the best athletes in the world in a lot of cases. But it doesn't assume that every university in Division 1 is better than every university in Division 2 or Division 3 or all the other divisions for that matter. So that's an assumption that is best not to make when thinking about Division 1. Just a few characteristics of Division One, which separate them from others. They do receive more athletic scholarship from the NCAA each year. So each coach will be given X amount of scholarship in their respective sports to then allocate to their athletes. And they're renewable each year depending on performance and academic performance, etc. They also need to tick a lot of boxes. In order to be at a Division One university, they have to meet a lot of requirements from the NCAA. A lot of it revolves around money and also having the capacity to service more sports across men's and women's sports than the other divisions. And not every university wants to do that or has the size of campus to do that. So they opt to be different divisions, even though they may very well be just as good on the field or in the swimming pool or in whatever the sport may be. So from a student athlete perspective, there's a lot of things you need to be aware of in order to be eligible for Division One NCAA. Registering with the NCAA is a simple process, but it's best to receive expert advice on how to finalize that eligibility and avoid being stranded in the US, like we see with some student athletes, that they're over there, they've got their scholarship, but they actually haven't been cleared by the NCAA because they've ticked a wrong box in the eligibility process. And that's obviously worst nightmare for some parents. So look, our advice for anyone looking at Division One, there are things you need to know about subject selection in school, how to best maximize those results in school, what you need to be doing as an athlete. But look, my advice or our advice would be not to wait until year 11 and 12, ideally, to find out about this. Eligibility is a bit of a minefield. And look, we can offer you some free advice as part of an assessment of your sporting level and your academic level. But certainly the experience in Division One was amazing. I did travel to, I think around about 30 universities, 30 states in America, as an athlete. And part of that was because of the generous budget that was afforded us in Division One at my particular university. Look, moving on to Division Two, we've got Ellen here, who is best suited to talk to Division Two because she was a national champion or a two-time national champion golfer in Division Two. So I'll hand it over to you, Ellen, to have a little bit of a chat about their characteristics.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, as Chris was saying, I went to Lynn University in Boca Raton, which is in South Florida. And that was a Division Two university. So when I started the recruiting process over 10 years ago now, I went into it very uninformed and I was very naive at the time. I didn't really know the difference between each of the divisions and what they offered. I just went in with the mindset that, if I was going to go to college, it had to be Division One for, some of the reasons, the myths that Alexia mentioned. And I soon learned throughout as I got into the recruiting process that, that was the information and the mindset that I had was not a good one. I narrowed my options down after talking to different coaches and different programs to, let's say a list of 10 programs that I'd done research on, felt like could be a good fit for me. 9 of those were Division One universities. And one of those is Division Two, and that was Lynn University, where I ended up going. And I just felt that, having spoken to all of the coaches, done a lot of research, that was ultimately the best fit for me. And as much as I wanted to was looking for ways almost to kick it off my list, I just couldn't. I couldn't fault it in any way. So in terms of what sets Division Two apart from Division One, for example, is it the way that they offer scholarships. So the NCAA does not award coaches in Division Two as much scholarship money as in Division One. However, at Division Two, this is offset by academic scholarship. So in most cases, if you're granted admission into a Division Two university, you're automatically going to qualify for some kind of academic scholarship. It's not whether you'll qualify, it's just comes down to how much. So it's still very much possible to get full scholarships at Division 2, and that could still, come entirely from the coach and the athletic department's budget, which was the case for me. However, in most cases, scholarships that you'll receive at a Division 2 university are going to be a combination of both athletic and academic scholarship money. And so when I think back on my experience, I think, the university I chose was definitely the best fit for me for a number of reasons. Throughout the recruiting process, I built the strongest rapport and the connection with the coach of Lynn University compared to the other programs. I also felt that Lynn University was a very, very top ranked program in Division 2 for golf. And looking at the history and the scores that the team would shoot, in most cases was just as good as some of the best ranked Division 1 programs. So I knew I was still going to get a really great experience from the athletic side. One of the main attractions for me for this particular university compared to the Division 1 universities I was considering was the population size. So at the time, I think Lynn University was roughly around 3,000 students. And I felt like an environment like that was just much better suited to me personally. My personality, I felt like that kind of environment I would just thrive a lot better in. I'd not spent a lot of time overseas, or I had not traveled a lot before then. So I just felt more comfortable going into that kind of environment. I had a very, very well-rounded experience. I was supported and encouraged, obviously from the sports side, but also from the academic side, community service side of things. So I just, felt like I had a very, very well-balanced, well-rounded experience, and just had a lot of opportunities personally to excel, that I don't know that I would have had going to a much larger university. That's not to say that it's not impossible to thrive at a big college, but I think going to a smaller college, and across the board, Division 2 universities do tend to be a little bit smaller than some of the big colleges in Division 1, and that just brings a unique experience that I felt best suited me.
That's really good to hear, Ellen. Some good points there. We do hear that a fair bit from our Division 2 athletes, that they were attracted to it for those reasons, that it's a little bit smaller. But I think important to note there was that, one of the biggest takes that I took from that was that, it didn't hold you back as a golfer or as a student or as a person. If I look, my university in Division 1, by comparison, 25,000 students, that didn't bother me at all. That said, I would have really enjoyed being in a smaller program as well. So it's each to their own, but it's just good to know the differences, and it depends what you want, So Lynn University is not going to be like all the other D2s. My university is not going to be like all the other Division 1s. So it can be quite different even within each division. But just quickly, before we move on to Division 3, from a golf perspective, I know, you played on some amazing courses, right?
I did. Being in Florida, we had access to a lot of the best championship courses down there. I played a tournament every year at TPC Sawgrass with the famous Island Green, where they hold the Players Championship. One of my favorite courses to travel to and play at was Kiawah Island, which has hosted a number of US Opens in the past, US PGA tournaments. Got to travel all around the country. I wasn't just limited to Florida. I played some great desert courses out in and around Vegas. I just, from a whole package standpoint, I just felt, going to Florida, playing golf in Florida, there really isn't many better places to play golf in the world. So
you're making me wish I played golf while saying all that. Look, moving on to Division 3, Alexia, we might just have a chat about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Division 3 is still part of the NCAA, has fewer rules than, say, D1 or D2. And, Division 3 is ideal for athletes who love their sport, may not be making those top teams, but still want to keep playing and have that college experience. In saying that, it's not to rule out, very strong athletes who are proactively going to D3 to then go on and become professionals in their sport. But it is fair to say that D3 is designed for an athlete who is, very invested in his or her academics. They don't have athletic scholarship or athletic funding from the NCAA. So to make up for that, they give quite large academic scholarships. However, where, D3, where I see D3 being a very good option is for a student athlete who, is a really good student, therefore can command enough scholarship to make it, a viable option. Or sometimes a family that might have a larger than average budget, to be able to go there to get the whole college experience. So they do train slightly less every week than the other divisions. And, they compete slightly less, but it's still a very, holistic experience with, great athletic programs and very, very fine academic institutions. And what a lot of people don't realize, you think of schools such as NYU or MIT, and they are both D3 colleges, so we're talking some very fine institutions, but just have chosen to be a D3 college from an athletic point of view.
I think just on that note, it's probably brought up another podcast topic that we can talk down the track, but I'd like to probably have an Ivy League chat at some point too, just to explain how scholarships work there. That they have the unique situation in Ivy Leagues where their scholarships are allocated like Division 3, but they actually compete in Division 1 from an athletic point of view. So they're the only league or conference that does that. So that's worth noting and something we can talk about down the track, but important information. So that's the NCAA. There's Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, which you've just heard about. Now there are two other entities, and there's a few more actually, but the two main entities that offer college sports we want to talk to you about is NAIA and then of course Junior College. Some of you may or may not have heard of these, but there's lots of acronyms we're throwing at you today when we're discussing college sports. But I'll hand it over to Ellen again just to run through NAIA, what it stands for, and some of their characteristics as well.
Yeah, so the NAIA stands for the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, and it's a separate association or separate entity altogether from the NCAA. There's roughly around 250 universities that are part of the NAIA association, so it's a little bit smaller in size compared to the NCAA. Something else, I guess, to note is that most NAIA universities also tend to have a smaller student population, can sometimes be located in smaller towns. But I guess one of the advantages to NAIA, particularly when it comes to the eligibility process, is that the eligibility requirements are far less stringent than the NCAA. So the 16 core course academic requirement that you will have heard about as required by the NCAA, that doesn't apply. That's not a requirement for the NAIA. So the eligibility process is much more simpler. Similar to Division 2, NAIA scholarships are offered usually as a combination of academic and athletic scholarships. They're competing within their own association in most cases, so they'll compete mainly against NAIA colleges. However, it's not uncommon, and it was certainly the case in my experience, where NAIA colleges compete in NCAA tournaments in all divisions, really, Division 3, Division 2, and Division 1. So from an academic side of things, the value and standard really of the academic programs and degrees offered by NAIA colleges are really no different to any other four-year college in the US. We actually find for a lot of our student athletes, NAIA is actually, quite a popular division that a lot of our students find to be a really good fit for them.
Thanks. And I think a really important point there, Ellen, you mentioned it's a bit smaller population, smaller unis, a little bit of a similar feel to some Division 2s. I think for people listening, most of America is small towns, and most universities are based somewhere around them. A lot of the big universities, yes, in bigger cities, but I'd say 80% of universities in America are actually around smaller towns. So, for those wanting that big college experience, it's not like every college is in that space. It's not all like what you see on the movies. So junior colleges is the other division I think is really important for people to know about. Off the top, junior college sounds horrible. It sounds maybe inferior in some way, or maybe, for younger people, the word junior is probably not the best word to describe it. But why they do call it junior college is that it really pertains to your first 2 years of college. These are 2-year universities, junior colleges. And when you finish, you're going to start your junior year, okay, which is your 3rd year in college. So that's why they're called junior colleges. They're also known as JUCOs, or community colleges. Again, not a word that's great, but the actual value of a 2-year program to a lot of people is very high. So they compete in the NJCAA, just another acronym for you. That's National Junior College Athletics Association. There's hundreds of them. And again, like all other divisions, there are some extremely good ones, and there are programs that aren't appropriate for everyone. But if you can get a good junior college that's suitable, it's an extremely good pathway for a lot of people. You can get full scholarships there, like other divisions as well. You get free tutoring, and there's reasons why you'll get that more so at junior college. But the idea of junior college is that it's 2 years at junior college. You're buying yourself 2 years as a student to improve your grades from high school, or to bump those up, and to improve as an athlete, really, so that you can be recruited into a 4-year college at the end of those 2 years. So an important thing to know is that you're not going to junior college for 2 years and then doing another 4 years at a 4-year college. It's 2 years at junior college, then you'll finish your final 2 years of eligibility at a 4-year college. So it's still a 4-year overall experience. The idea is that you're going to come out as a better student, and a better athlete, with the idea of going to a better 4-year college than what you would have been offered had you gone straight to a 4-year college out of high school. So the idea is, as I said before, you are trying to buy yourself some time. So great option for some people for the right reasons. But here are the 3 main reasons why families might choose a JUCO, or a junior college. There's an academic reason. Sometimes you have to go to junior college. That's why it was originally created, for people who didn't quite qualify for 4-year programs academically. They may have done poorly on the entrance exam. They may not have taken the right subjects in school, just may not have got the best grades throughout their year 9 to 12 schooling. So they have to go to junior college and almost prove to the NCAA or the NAI that they are, of a good enough academic standard to compete in that competition. And there's an athletic reason. Some people, although being very, very high achieving students, still proactively go to junior college for athletic reasons, where they want to buy themselves more time as an athlete. They might not felt like they've got the best level. They might not feel like they got the best 4-year scholarships because they didn't have enough time through high school to showcase their ability. Okay, go to junior college, improve yourself over 2 years as an athlete. That hopefully those big 4-year college programs come knocking and recruit you from junior college, and that's what it's designed to do. Then the third reason why families choose junior colleges are financial. They tend to be about the third of the price of all other 4-year colleges on average. That's even before scholarship. So most people are quite blown away as to how inexpensive a junior college option can be. So that's a little bit of an idea of the divisions. There is a separate junior college division in California that has their own, but that's because it's California and they like to do those things. But the NJCAA operates everywhere east of California.
Well, I guess in wrapping up the podcast today, it's just so important to be informed, and we have kept this brief. This could have been something that we could have had a 2-hour podcast, but nobody wants that. So, it's really important to be informed, and it's important to realize that no two student athletes are the same. And every single student athlete and their family has a different set of variables that need to be met to equal their right fit. And division is a part of that. It's a big part of it. And there's lots of other variables. But I guess to reiterate, Division 1 NCAA, I think we've learned today, is not necessarily the best and is not everyone's right fit. And I think back to trips, visiting colleges throughout America, and particularly in that D2, D3 space, where coach is saying to us is the biggest hurdle they have with internationals is understanding the difference in divisions. Particularly here in Australia, when we think about divisions, 1 is always better than 2 and 2 is always better than 3. So it's important to understand that that's not necessarily the case in America. And, there will be inappropriate colleges for each student athlete in every division. That's why in our experience, it's best to be open when it comes to divisions and be more keen on finding your right fit, regardless of where that is. So in what we call family meetings, where we sit down with, eager young student athletes, early in their high school years, we go through these points discussed today in, a lot more detail than now, to be able to give a really realistic indication of the types of divisions that might best suit, that student athlete and the necessary academic and athletic markers that they need to be reaching to be able to maximize their opportunities. We also discussed, the realistic cost to your family versus the scholarship that they could get, so that families can help plan and budget for this pathway. So, if there's something that you would like to learn more about, we encourage you to reach out to us, via our website, at studyandplayusa.com.au, obviously our social media platforms in Facebook and Instagram. But, there are so many colleges available in the USA, and there really is a college for almost all levels of, athletics, of academics, and, family budgets. And we are just so pro education. So just to learn about this pathway, so that you can make a really informed decision as a family if this is the right thing for you. So, hope you've learnt a lot from today's podcast. And, if there's any more information that you would like, please feel encouraged just to reach out to us.
Thanks, guys.